How do you avoid plagiarizing someone else's content inside of your own podcast? Let's answer that question coming up next. Hey there, podcaster. My name is the Shannon, radio broadcaster, podcaster, and podcast producer. Today's video is brought to you by my essential equipment guide to starting a podcast. If you're thinking about starting a podcast and don't know where to start, this guide might point you in the right direction. I recommend that you go ahead and download it today. The link for that is down in the description of this particular YouTube video or wherever you're finding it, and it will definitely get you started in the right direction. So today we're talking all about plagiarism and whether or not your podcast is in threat of being accused of plagiarizing someone else's content. And the reason why I bring up today's topic is because as of recently, we're talking maybe as of this recording, maybe a month ago, there was an article that was posted out about a particular set of podcasters who supposedly lifted some content from a journalist, and that journalist accused those podcasters of taking his content and using it as their own. And what ended up happening was that those particular podcasters ended up deleting a number of episodes because they feared as though maybe they were plagiarizing some other piece of content. Now, is this the right course of action that those podcasters could have taken? I don't know. I don't think that it's wise to necessarily delete the episodes, but maybe that's what needed to happen anyway. But number two, it all comes down to the process of whenever you're creating content and when you're researching your content and whether or not you're citing the correct sources. So today, let's examine what you need to do to avoid any type of plagiarism within your own podcast. Point number one. Always cite your sources. If you're going to be mentioning something or someone or some story within your podcast, make sure that you are citing that in your show notes. Now, I'm going to tell you that show notes just aren't the only place that you should be citing your source. This comes to point number two, is that you should always be verbally citing with a parenthetical inside of your podcast. Now, what does a parenthetical mean? You've heard it before when you've watched news stories, when you've watched late night TV shows, when you've watched sporting programs, and you hear the anchor always say, and Donald Trump said, quote, and then they mention out the quote from Donald Trump, and then they end it off with unquote or end quote. So you should be citing with parentheticals verbally so you can make sure to give credit to the person who originally did the work for that particular story. In today's world, we can definitely take a lot of information and use it for our own content creation and then think, oh, there's nothing really to this. No one's ever really going to be paying attention. But in this circumstance, with this recent podcast that got popped for plagiarism, there are people who are listening, and you wouldn't believe how many people are listening to certain podcasts and then all of a sudden come across and go, wow, that seems very odd. I feel like that was taken from somewhere else. So make sure that you are citing not only within the show notes and doing your research and copying and pasting those links or maybe those quotes in your, your side notes of when you're creating your podcast episode, but also using that verbal parenthetical. That's going to be the key right there, all right? Next, let's talk about lifting audio from other podcasts or other sources, say news sources. Can you do this? Now, I'm not a legal professional, and I'm not going to tell you to do one way or the other. What I will tell you is that if you have a question about it, that you do contact an attorney, some type of copyright attorney, and find out whether or not it's okay. But there are a lot of things out there that are basically in the Creative Commons gray area. I've heard podcasts where they have used maybe a clip from a news story from an anchor, and then they have given the citation inside the podcast audio itself. I've heard that done before. Personally, I don't like doing podcasting like that. I've always believed that podcasting is original content only. You create that original content and you don't have any problems dealing with any types of plagiarism. You're just creating original content for the world to consume. But if you ever find yourself in that gray area, number one, talk with an attorney. Number two, you can always go to this podcasting legal guide that is found online about Creative Commons licensing. I'm going to go ahead and leave a link for that down in the description below for you to check out and read over to find out what might be in the gray area, what might be in the red area, and what might be okay for putting onto your podcast. But it's very important you know what you are citing and how you are citing it and how you cannot get accused or popped for any type of plagiarism, because this could possibly result in maybe some fines later on down the line, and you just don't really want that. Now, one way that you can get around this, and it might take a little bit more work, but I will say it's probably going to be the safest bet for you to stay out of those crosshairs altogether, is I would contact the content creator themselves if you can. So whether it be a journalist, whether it be an artist, whether it be a podcaster, someone who's creating content, and I would ask them, hey, can I use this content inside of my particular podcast? You said something in this podcast. Can I use this inside of my own podcast and give citation? And more than likely, those people are going to go ahead and say yes. It's not going to be something that is going to be like, oh, we need to get paperwork done. Most people really enjoy the fact that they're getting their name put out there and being promoted. So I don't see it necessarily as a problem. But if you are running into a problem where someone isn't going to give you that permission to use that piece of content, then just don't use it. I mean, let's just be logical about it. Just don't use that content. I think the best practice here is that you just have to be logical about what you are putting inside of your podcast and how you are citing it. Again, personally, I like creating content that is original content and saying, hey, it came from here. In the case of this story where we're talking about this particular podcast, this is a news story that is pretty much on every website out there. So you can go find the news story itself. I'll leave a link for one of the news stories that talks about this particular plagiarism case down in the description below, because there's all over the place. Everyone is reporting all about it. But again, if you're going to be directly lifting from a piece of content and putting it inside of your own, then I would say, yes, you need to give citation and credit to that person. Now, have you ever questioned yourself when it comes down to plagiarism inside of your own podcast? I'd be interested in hearing what you have to say. Go ahead and leave a comment down below in this YouTube video or wherever you're finding it, and let me know, have you struggled with plagiarism for your own podcast, whether someone has taken your content and used it as their own, or maybe you're worried about taking someone else's content and using it within your own particular podcast. I'd be interested in hearing what you have to say. If you like this video, go ahead and leave it a thumbs up, and of course, make sure you hit that subscribe button down below on YouTube and hit that little bell button so you can get notified when I drop brand new episodes on this YouTube channel all about podcasting and the process of creating the best podcast for yourself. Again, I appreciate you guys watching. I'm going to go ahead and leave a link, or actually some videos over here for you to watch that talk a little bit more about starting up a podcast, and that might get you started on the right path to creating your own and best podcast. In the meantime, I'll be talking to you guys soon. Take care.